presenter, who is Dr. Thomas Jeffries from the Hawkesbury Institute for the Environment. Thanks very much, Thomas.
Thank you. It's great to be here. So the first thing you might be wondering looking at this slide is the word microbiome and what it means. So a microbiome is all of the microorganisms, so things like bacteria and viruses that live in a particular habitat or location. And you might be familiar with the human microbiome. So there's 3 times as many bacterial cells in and on our body as there is human cells. And it's becoming evident that they're really important in our health and in causing and responding to different human diseases. But what you perhaps might be less aware of is that these microbiomes also occur in all and every habitat, so things like soil, things like seawater in our rivers, oceans, built environments. And that image on the top right is just an artist's impression of a small microscale drop of seawater. So in a teaspoon of seawater, there's several billion microorganisms. And that means that in the world's ocean, there's many more times bacteria than there are stars in the known universe. So everyone take a deep breath. Thank you. Half of the oxygen in that breath came from marine bacteria performing photosynthesis. So these organisms are really important in a global ecological context as well as in our own health. So one of the challenges in aquatic habitats is, of course, things like pollution and contamination. So you might have heard the recent statistic that by 2020 there'll be more plastic in our ocean than fish, as well as facing challenges like climate change, which is altering the distribution of species, killing coral reefs and causing ocean acidification. One of the challenges in aquatic ecosystems is how do we measure this? How do we measure and assay these changes? And the solution to that problem is microbiomes. So one of the great things about microbiomes is they're sentinels of environmental health. They're the traditional sort of canary in the coal mine in that they're the first responders to change in the ecology of a habitat. And we can harness this information to understand these environments and their challenges. So one of the challenges of these ecosystems is their vast scale. So the oceans and our waterways are way too big for individual researchers and teams to measure, and we can harness citizen science to do this. So citizen science is engaging the public to take our samples and engage with our research. So one of the projects I've been involved in to utilise citizen science is called the Indigo 5 expedition, and that uses citizen oceanographers, so round-the-world yachts people and people in round-the-world yacht races to collect marine microbiome samples for us. And in this project, we're getting our citizen oceanographers to tow an autonomous sampling device or a drone which collects the microbiome samples for us and stores them for later analysis in the lab once they get to port, as well as collecting a suite of environmental data and things like the concentration of microplastics. And as a proof of concept of this, we took a yacht from Cape Town in South Africa to Singapore and sampled all across the Indian Ocean, including the open ocean and the Chagos Archipelago, which is a pristine coral reef, represented by the image on the bottom right of the slide, and shipping lanes around Singapore and the Bay of Bengal. And by generating the first index of ocean health using microbiome data, we received a lot of scientific and media attention, as well as support from UNESCO to do a follow-up expedition. And that led to talks at the White House and in TED Talks. So this is a massive international project that's harnessing citizen science and microbiomes for ocean health. But what I want to do now is see if we can harness this on a local scale. So instead of a yacht in the Caribbean, can we use a tinny on the Georges River and engage citizen science to understand microbiomes in Western Sydney's waterways? So all of the university's campuses are located near waterways. I'd love to engage our students as well as the general public and industry in using citizen science to sample the microbiomes of our waterways and to develop measurements of ecological health informed by those microbiomes. And using that information, can we find microbes that can degrade a particular contaminant? Can we come up with probiotics for ecosystems? A bit like you might drink some kombucha or have some Yakult for your own microbiome health. Can we do that in an aquatic habitat? Can we commercialise microbes for things like wastewater treatment that can either be indicators of specific contaminants or help clean them up? I hope to utilise citizen science and these smallest inhabitants of our waterways, the microbes, to protect and ensure the future of our most precious resource, which is water. Thank you. There's a question.
Very good, Thomas. A question from the panel.
We have it delegated, so I've been going to the first question. Engagement. I'm interested in terms of the engagement approach, in terms of as you identify. Now, the yachties were certainly part and parcel of that, but how do you actually, and what are you looking at the nature of engagement in terms of people who are going to be working with you so that they get the benefit and they're actually party to the research?
Yeah, so we're informed by this by a number of other projects. So like you said, it's a bit easier with the yachties because, you know, they're participating, they've got a vested interest in ocean health. With the public wider, it's about trying to build a relationship that they understand the relationship of their microbiomes and their environment to their health and productivity. So we're following the model of something called American Gut, which is a project where people can send in their own feces to this particular group that will sequence their microbiome. And then they get this nice little package back of here's all the things living in your gut. So we're doing that. So I want to say, like, here's all the things living in your local river and here's how it matters. And obviously then people understand the stake that they have in that research, as well as using things like social media to engage people. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.